Yo, E-King Fight News, y'all know what it is. 70,000 sold for Joshua Parker. This is a big fight, guys. Big fight. The winner moves on. Hopefully against Wilder Ortiz. Otherwise, it might be against Alexander Povetkin, who's the mandatory for the WBA. And straight up, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win this fight? Joshua Parker. All the belts on the line except for one, and we got 4 belts on the line. That's more than we're used to seeing. So very important unification fight. I would have liked to see Joseph Parker step up and face Wilder. He's been calling out Wilder's been calling out Parker. It feels like for a year now. Feels like it. Did Parker once respond and say, you know what, we can make that fight happen? No, I don't think he never did that. He never really did that. And every time the fight's been brought up, he's got some other opponents in mind, right? Of course, Joshua has been on the top of his list for a long time, and now he finally has that fight. I mean, that for him, that's the biggest money fight out there, right? And in a landscape where, let's be honest, Anthony Joshua seems to have garnered the popularity of a Mayweather type figure for the heavyweight division. And personality wise, he's the exact opposite of a Floyd Mayweather. But very popular in the UK, Olympic gold medalist. I mean, incredible athletic specimen. 254 pounds? And he might be only getting bigger in terms of his physicality, in terms of his stature. Anthony Joshua's the real deal, guys. He is. And, it's part of the reason why Jim Lampley wants to, be the first one to have him top 5 pound for pound, Jim Lampley wanted to make a statement on his show and say, you know what, I'm going to be the first guy to have Joshua on my pound for pound list. And he put him in at number 5. And what does that tell you? That means there's a lot of guys that want to really push Joshua. But at the end of the day, as much as you want to push someone, you got to prove it in the ring. Fortunately for guys like Manny Pacquiao, Lomachenko, things have worked out for those two guys for the most part. Pacquiao had that Marquez moment, and that was a great moment for Marquez. I tell you what, man, that was an awesome moment for Marquez to have Pacquiao knock the fuck out. And if that happened to, if that were to ever happen to Anthony Joshua, that would be a big dent in his stock for sure. His stock would drop. But there's nothing you can't come back from. If there's one thing for sure, there's nothing you can't come back from. Because Pacquiao, he came back from being knocked smooth the fuck out. He came back from it. Beat Brandon Rios. Beat Tim Bradley. He beat a few guys, and he never got that Marquez fight. But it is what it is. And what else is going on in heavyweight boxing? Of course, Wilder's fighting Ortiz. And how about this? Anthony Joshua is on a training. He's on a training binge, man. Dude's a killer when it comes to this training. He's a killer when it comes to this training. I'll tell you that much. Oh snap. Okay, there you go. Let's check out Anthony Joshua for a second. Awesome training. I mean, the dude definitely pushes himself in the gym, and that's a big reason why, he can go 11, 12 rounds if need be. He was able to muster that energy to take Klitschko out in the 11th round. How many times have we seen a guy take Klitschko out late? It hasn't happened since. It hasn't happened. Klitschko has not been knocked out late in the fight. I think in his whole career, if he's been knocked out, it's been 6 rounds or earlier. It hasn't been past the 6th. That tells you a lot about Anthony Joshua. He's a real beast, and I expect him to knock out Joseph Parker. And it would be a disappointment if it went 12 rounds in a competitive fight. You know, that wouldn't be so disappointing. It would be disappointing if Anthony Joshua comes the same way he came when he fought Carlos Takam. Because he did look a little bit poor in that fight. Although he won the majority of rounds, no question about it. But he did look a bit befuddled, and his form was not as tight as I've used to, as I've seen him in the past. You know, he seemed to be a little bit too wild in there with Takam. He was missing too much against a guy who's an elusive target, but not someone that you know, he certainly wasn't a defensive mastermind. You know, this is a guy that Povetkin knocked out, probably on the juice, but this is a guy that Povetkin knocked out. So it is what it is. Anthony Joshua training his ass off. I expect him to knock out Parker. Let me know what you guys think, and of course, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. You know what it is, E King.